Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, apologies to everybody once again for the glitches at the beginning, but thank God that we are in now and we can go right away into the lecture. Father, thank you for this period. I will just give you praise and adoration for your loving kindness, your tender mercies. Thank you for the opportunity to rub minds with your people. Lord, we ask that your purpose shall stand and your counsel will be established. Lord, we ask tonight that your predeterminate counsel will predominate over this meeting and your people will be blessed. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. I'm to take organizational studies. Sometimes in church, we make a distinction between the secular and the church, not taking into cognizance that an organization is the same thing irrespective of what that organization does. An organization is a vehicle and it is structured in a way that meets the goals and the objectives of the person or the people who intend to achieve or get something done. What do I mean? Organizations are the same in the sense that they follow the same principles, but organizations are different because what they are supposed to achieve, they are different. A church organization will be quite different from a military organization. A military organization will have hierarchy. It is, you obey instructions. Whereas in a church organization, is by persuasion. People came in by themselves and they can also live by themselves. The objective of what the organization intends to, or of what whoever is behind that organization is supposed to achieve will determine the structure of that organization and how it will run. An organization that is statutory, for instance, established by law, will be quite different from an organization that is voluntary. I think there's Boy Scouts in America, or maybe brigade, or any volunteer organization that is just there, you are not paid, you just want to render your service to your community or your nation. The way such organization will run will be quite different from how a statutory organization will run. A not-for-profit organization, how it will run, it will be quite different from for-profit organization, because the objective of for-profit organization is profit. So you'll be mindful of your cost. And your cost is a function of how the organization is structured, the expenses they can incur, the authority within that organization, and who has the right to commit the organization. Whereas a non-for-profit organization will probably be geared towards meeting the customer's need or meeting the community's need, or whatever is the target audience that it intends to serve. That will be the primary motive, and whatever it needs to be done, if they have to spend more, they don't care, they will spend that much money to get it done. Okay, what have I said? I've said two things. One, organizations are vehicles, and organizations structured to achieve a predeterminate objective. And that objective would determine in return the structure of that organization. For instance, an organization that is supposed to cover a nation will not be structured as an organization that is supposed to cover maybe a church. But the truth of the matter is that the structure may be different, but the principles will remain the same. Every organization is run by the same principle. The extent of what is highlighted, what they place reliance on, or what is dominant is the difference in every organization. A not-for-profit organization where people have to volunteer, for instance, may not be too particular about when people come, recruitment, welfare, and the rest of it. But a for-profit organization will be mindful of all that because there are costs associated with those decisions. Okay, if we know that, what I've seen is that a lot of church organizations, we actually don't make this distinction. We don't make a distinction between church and our personal life. Somebody starts a ministry, there's no the difference between, there's no distinguishing factor between himself as a person and that organization that he has started. But maybe with time, as the organization grows, that person is compelled to start putting structures in place. But that's actually an error. That's a mistake. In starting a church or a parish, the first thing is to sit down and have the structures in place. It doesn't mean that the structures or the boxes will be filled the first day.
Doc,
But
I'm sorry, sir. Are you showing the slide?
no, I don't have slide. I don't have slide tonight.
All right, sir.
I don't have slide tonight.
Okay, sir.
But I will do slide and send to you later. If that works. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. That would be fine. Thank you, sir.
Okay. The first thing is to have the structure, because the structure can make or mar any organization. The first thing is to establish an objective. The next thing is to have a structure that takes you towards that objective. But we often think that anointing will solve that problem. And I'm saying that's a big error, because if I'm anointed, that doesn't mean that I know everything. It doesn't matter how anointed I am. If I am not certified as a pilot, I doubt that anybody will board a plane that I'm supposed to pilot. Nobody, no matter the level of my anointing. The same thing in administration, in running a church, or in running an organization. It requires skill set. After getting the structure, the principles by which organizations run must be embedded in that organization. But oftentimes, this does not happen in church. For instance, when an organization starts, the first thing is planning. Why are we here? What's the objective of this organization? What's the objective? Who is to do what? What is the level of authority? Who can commit this organization? How do we know when we have met our targets? What is the evaluation process? What is the disciplinary process? What is the expansion process? We must think through all of this before we start out, so that when we start out, we are not encumbered. We know that the structure we've put in place is more than able to take us to make us achieve our objective. For instance, very few churches have what I call budgets. Budget is just a tool for planning, and planning is one of the principles of organization. Every organization plans. Countries plan, corporate bodies plan, but most churches don't plan. You don't plan your finances. You are believing God for expansion. You don't plan what will happen. All we do is as we are led by the Spirit. And I'm not even sure that's how God himself works. God is a master planner. God did not create the fish before he thought of water. The land was already there before the trees were there. So planning is perhaps the most important thing that any leader needs to do. He cannot do it, he should get the skill sets from people who know how to plan. And planning will require detailed planning, and it require scenario planning. We want to do A. What happens if all the factors we are holding constant do not materialize? What do? We fall to option B. What if option B should fail? We fall to option C. Do we even have an objective? What do we want to achieve? What is the essence of why do we exist in that community? Is it documented? Does everybody know it? If we wake up any of your members, can you say precisely what you're supposed to do? Or you just exist because, well, we are doing church? If we don't intend to go anywhere, then we've reached our destination, nowhere. And that in itself is capable of causing very many things within our organization. There will be problems over problems over problems. Without structure, you cannot know who has authority in your organization. Who reports to what? Or who reports to who? Who has authority to incur expenses? Who can discipline? Is there internal control? If there's violation, how do we know? Is there discipline? If somebody violates, what happens? Are all these things documented? If they are documented, are they known to everybody? Are they communicated to everybody? If they are not communicated, then one is just like somebody in a dark room wearing sunshade, wanting to catch a black cat. The possibility of making it happen is quite remote. How do we know that we are making progress? If there is no standard that we've established by which we measure our achievements, how do we account for even our achievements? Is it as a result of our effort or as a result of our environment? If there are interventions, how are we sure of the efficacy of that intervention? When we have programs, why do we have programs? What do we intend to achieve by having programs? Where does that program fall into in your overall objective? Do you, at the end of the program, evaluate the success or otherwise of that program? If you are evaluating, how do you evaluate that program? Is it in monetary terms? Oh, I spent $1 billion. Did you have a plan before? If you didn't have a plan, you will not know whether you overspent or you underspent. What did you achieve? Oh, I was hoping to get 1,000 people. If you didn't state that objective, then you will not know how many people, whether you were successful or you are not successful. Okay, do you have plans for where, how you are going to treat, house, welcome these people? Do you have structure? If you are not there, will everything collapse, or will everybody have to wait on you for direction before they can do anything? What's my point? My point is that every church is an organization. The same way corporate bodies run their organizations is the same way a church should run. In the short term, medium term, and on the long run, it doesn't change. Environment can change. Your ability to cope even with that environment is a function of the structure that you have. Because environment itself is dynamic. And in a dynamic environment, unless you have structures, you'll be reactive as opposed to being proactive. You'll be seeing challenges as opposed to you taking advantage of developments within that environment. And environment itself is in a constant flux. Things are changing every time. So without a structure, you will be, that organization will not be able to cope. It's either a result into stunted growth, or there can even be atrophy, or the organization may cease to exist. Many churches have collapsed for very many reasons. But the most important thing is the violation of organizational principles. When they are violated, certainly there will be a backlash. But because organizations are resilient, effects may not be seen immediately. But when the seed is sown, it's a matter of time before the manifestation of the effect of not sticking to the principles of organization. So what have I said? I've said, one, every organization is the same. I've said, two, structures, organization must have objective. I've said, three, structures must match the objective of that organization. I've said, four, organization must have and observe organizational principles. I said, five, violation of those principles will certainly come back and haunt the organization. I said, six, anointing does not compensate for organizational principles. It doesn't matter who you are, you don't follow it. It's a universal law. You don't follow it, your anointing will not matter. I've said, seven, the limit, the extent of your expansion is the extent to which you obey these organizational principles. And what are those principles? You have to plan. You have to have structure. You have to have discipline. You have to have review. You have to communicate. And sometimes you have to disrupt even your own organization. For those who are in competitive environments, you disrupt your organization before a competition will do that. It is called planned obsolescence. You make yourself obsolete before either circumstance or competition will make it happen. For instance, let's give the issue of COVID. There are many organizations that wouldn't survive COVID just because they can't adapt from the brick and mortar system into an online system. As simple as that may be, it's a challenge that many will not be able to surmount. Okay, let me pause here and ask for feedback on what I've said, clarifications, questions, before I move on.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Yeah, I have a question. You said those who are in competitive environment, how can they survive? But my own question is, Christian organization or spiritual organization, are they supposed to be bringing new or hear from God? God tell them what to do, or they organize their own things for their own self in order to beat the to move forward in organization or whatever.
Okay, all I've said, let me try and domesticate it. Maybe that will bring a bit of understanding. Church organization. Does your church have a target audience? Who are you called to? Even Jesus said he was not called to the Gentiles. Jesus did not go outside Israel, well, except when he was younger and was taken to Africa. But when he started his ministry, he said he was not called. Apostle Paul was not called to the Jews. Peter did not go to the Gentiles. So who are you called to? What's your objective? Do you just exist to do church? When you know who you are called to, then that in itself will determine how you will reach them. Take it or leave it. There's competition going on. And it's a zero-sum game. What I mean by zero-sum game is that whatever I get is a loss to you. Whatever you lose is my gain. The person, for instance, if your organization is called to youth and young adults, if you don't get them, the devil will get them. The occult will get them. They will be lured by other things. So what can you do if you are called to them, to ensure that you have the people you are called to? If our to be called to the youth in, say, Atlanta, the first thing that we want to do is know the demographics of Atlanta. Who are the people between the age of 13 and 25? And where are they? So where is my own church located? So if I'm not near where they are, I must, how do I reach them? How do I communicate with them? Do I speak their language? Or I've imported a Lagos church, an African church, to an American soil. Those are recipes for failure. So determining who you are called to is important. That's your objective. I'm called to these people. Giving yourself planning is just what I've just done. Knowing the demographics, knowing where you are located, or knowing their language, how do you reach them? What programs will get to them? Do you speak their language? Do you come in shirt and tie and you suit up every Sunday, whereas your guys come in jeans and sneakers and all of that? If you cannot dress the way they dress, you can't speak their language, you can't reach them, you want to be brick and mortar, you don't play that kind of music, not likely that the person is competing effectively. And you mentioned competition. Yes, competition is going on, whether we like it or not. And it's a zero-sum game. Whoever you lose, they gain. Whoever you gain, they lose. So I think that answered that question. If does that answer
Yes,
that
sir.
question,
Thank you,
sir?
sir.
Yes, sir. Any
Yes,
other
sir.
questions, sir? Any other question before we move on?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Suppose that a church, when starting, did not have structure on ground, and is now having some problems. How did the church bring in structure to correct some of the things? How
Okay.
do they bring?
Okay. If I understand what you're saying, if I'm supposed to go to the north and I find myself that I'm facing south, what should I do? Just like Jonah. Jonah was supposed to go to Nineveh. He went to Tarshish. The next best thing, it doesn't matter how far you've gone on the wrong route. Increasing your speed on that lane will not take you to your destination. You must make a U-turn and turn back and now increase your speed on that lane. So to answer your question, if I find myself in an organization that did not plan, that did not do anything, we were doing as the Spirit leads, the next best thing is to start today. Ask ourselves, why do we exist? What are we doing here? What are we supposed to accomplish here? Who are we called to? Who are we looking forward to? Are we just doing church because, or why are we doing church? Because we are Christians and we want to come together? That's a social club. Okay, so you must define the essence of your being. After that, you define who you are called to. Who are you called to? We have Full Gospel Businessmen Fellowship. They are called to men who are in business. So they are not called to employees. We have Women Aflame Ministry. They are not looking for men. We have Youth Rebound Ministry. They are not looking for old people. So who are you called to? When you know who you are called to, then you evaluate yourself. Am I appealing? I mean, you are a bait. Am I appealing to the people I'm called to? That will let you know what you need to change in what you are doing. That will let you know, okay, sorry, I'm not in America, but if you're in Lagos and you don't have POS in your church, for instance, then your offering will go down. if people can't make transfer in your church, your offering will go down. What kind of music do you play? Do you still bring the African, Nigerian stuff? Well, if you are called to Nigerians in America, why not? That's who you are called to. You are on your lane and you are doing just fine. But if you are not, you're probably like a round peg on a square hole somehow. So what do you do to answer your question? What do I do if I discover that I don't have any of these plans? What you should do is to start. And when do you start? Yesterday was the best day. Today is a good day to start. You start today. I don't know if I answer your question, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Do I have more questions? That's the only way I can know that I'm communicating with you and you understand what I'm saying.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
You said the other time that we are in a competition. I want you to emphasize that who is the church competing with? Do you mean we are competing with the devil, if I may understand you? Because we said if we are not gaining them, that means we are losing them to probably the devil, or who are we in competition with, sir, as a church?
Okay. The population of the whole world is fairly fixed per time. What I mean by that is that the number of births and deaths and the increase is known and is fairly constant. What is your vision of your church? Do you have a global vision, but you are starting from your local place? The assignment Jesus gave to the church was a global assignment to preach and make disciples of nations. That's the assignment. So global evangelism is the ultimate, but we cannot at once be global without starting from a point. And that's why we are at that point where you are at now. But in your mind, evangelism is global. And whether we like it or not, there's nobody who, I don't know if you know the idea of tabula rasa. Tabula rasa says, when you were born, when I was born, my plate, my mind, my heart was blank. Nothing was written on it. I wasn't a Christian, even though my parents were Christians. I didn't know anything about Jesus. I didn't know anything about book. I didn't know anything about any culture. It was blank. As I came to the world, I got socialized into who I am today. The same thing is going on in every home all over the world. The essence of what we do in church is to superimpose the culture, the kingdom principles of our God over our spheres of influence. If that is done, his kingdom, the frontiers of the kingdom is being expanded. But you cannot take the whole world at once. So the ones you can take and define as you're starting out, you must state it so that it will define all that you will do. Your modus operandi will be defined. So to answer your question in specific, yes. Anyone you don't get, the devil is in the hands of the devil already. Unless you don't believe the Bible. There's no, unless you give your life, you cannot make heaven.
Okay.
So if you cannot make without make heaven without giving your life, it's church that provides that information, understanding for you to be able to give your life. So if you are not exposed to church in any form or shape, that giving of life will not happen. For instance, some countries are locked. You can't preach Christianity there. Saudi Arabia, for instance. So there are people in some nations that they've not heard the name Jesus and that he died for them. Those ones are completely, totally under the grip of the devil. And our assignment as a church is to reach them. How would they hear if there's nobody to tell them? How can somebody tell them if they are not sent? So you have been sent, but your mode of engagement must be defined. You can't bite an elephant and swallow it at once. You eat an elephant in bits and pieces. And that's all we are doing. But in doing that, our eyes are never out of the elephant. We are looking at the elephant as we are eating it. We are chewing in bits and pieces, but our objective is to devour the whole elephant. That's precisely what I mean, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir. I take one more question before I move to important function of an organization. Any other person? Any other person? Okay, if there is no person, thank you. I take it to mean that you understand everything I've said thus far. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I want to go to 7 important functions of an organization. 1, to define the role of individual. If there's no organization, you don't know who has the requisite authority for anything. Just imagine a church, there are no choir, we don't have the security people, we don't know who is the pastor, nobody. How do you conduct a service? Who draws up the liturgy, the order of service? How do we know what to do? So an organization exists, 1, so that we can know the role of an individual. In some places, that is where what do you call it now? The structure of an organization begins to exist. We know who is at the top. Every organization is a pyramid. Okay, we start from beginning and draw the organogram. Number 2, we determine the authority that each person has. The fact that I'm the pastor does not mean that I should be able to do everything. In fact, I always tell people that most leaders are just glorified prisoners. For instance, if you are the president of a nation, you have to oversee very many things. The military, the economy, the health sector, the transport sector, the agri, petrochemicals, international relations. The truth of the matter is, you never learned all of this in your university, and there's no way you can be an all-rounder in all of these things. So what do? You rely on competent people to lecture you. So if you made a mistake in not looking at skills, you allow either primordial sentiments or other factors to influence the people you surround yourself with as a leader. That's a recipe for failure, actually. A leader is not supposed to be the most brilliant person. The leader is somebody who is surrounded by brilliant people. But a leader must understand process. He must be quick. He must have insight. He must have vision. He must know where they're going. And he must carry the people and lead from the front. So we know a structure helps us to determine the authority that everybody should have. If we don't know authorities that somebody should have, how do you know whether somebody is doing the wrong thing? How do you know who is to preach? Who will take the call as to whether we should buy land or we shouldn't buy land? Who will make those decisions? And who has the authority to do that? Okay. The third one is fixation of responsibility. An organization allows you to have fixed responsibility. That's why we can hold you fixed responsibility.
Fixed responsibility.
Yeah, or fixation of responsibility.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. If you are the accountant, whatever happens in that office, we know who we are going to ask. We know who can have access to our bank information. We know who can have the password and all of that. So the organization allows us to have fixation of responsibility. Organization allows specialization. There's nobody who is allowed to roam in an organization. Today, you come in and say, I want to work as an accountant. Next tomorrow, you come in and say, you are going to corporate service. You come in the third day, you say, no, I want to be holy police or the security. The fourth day, you say, no, I'm preaching today. Nobody will allow you to roam around. It is when we do something over and over and over that we develop, we master it. It becomes second nature to us. And that is rewarded in an organization because errors are reduced, dexterity is increased, and the organization is able to compete with other organizations. The fifth point is coordination. Everybody cannot just be doing whatever they like, and there is no correlation or coordination of what is done. All right, it will just be disparate efforts scattered all over the place. And that will not in any way serve somebody must push all efforts towards the objective. This is what we are here to do, and we are moving towards it. But there's no one person who can do everything. So we divide them into pieces, and you do your bit, I do my bit, the next person does his bit, but there's somebody who is overlooking it and is pushing us towards our objective. And it's so important. I tell you a story. Firefighting men, the boss was not in the office when fire started, but the deputy was in office. So they moved to where the house that was burning, about 2 streets away. The boss came back to office and met his boys. And where are the boys? So they've gone, there was fire incident somewhere, so they've gone to the house that was burning. The boss rushed to the scene of the fire and asked for the deputy. And he was told that the deputy had gone inside with a water hose, trying to quench the fire right from the source and all of that. If you were the boss, what would you do? Hello? Pastor Adeyemolu Shola. If you are the boss, what will you do? I can't hear you, Pastor. Oh, I can't hear you, Pastor Shola. Okay, Pastor Babatunde Idumu, I hope I got it right. What will you do if you are the boss?
I think he is not, the worker is not competent enough. Like if you're having to wait for your boss to tell you to turn out the fire, then yeah.
No, it wasn't that the boss was telling him to turn off the fire. The boss got to the scene of fire and asked, where's my deputy? And he was told that the deputy was inside the building fighting fire.
If the boss will run into the fire to go.
No, okay, no. The boss fired his deputy immediately. Is there anybody who can guess why the boss fired the deputy?
Why is that?
Okay, thank you. That's just what I've just mentioned, coordination. If you are the leader, you are supposed to stand out and give instruction. You move down, you come up, carry this thing right now. What are you doing? You are coordinating all the activities going on. If you now become one of the people who has carried the hose inside, there's no way you will see what others are doing. And who says that's where the fire is actually more important, where you are at? Or things might be happening that the man right fighting fire will not see, that you have to see and give directive. Have you ever wondered why in corporate world, the boss is given chauffeur, big office, everything? It's not running around like the clerk and all of that. And you're wondering, what is this man doing that is being paid huge amounts and given all perks of office, traveling around? What is he doing?
I do have a question with that in mind, sir.
Sorry?
So, I said I have a question with that understanding.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so where does the place of a servant leader come in if, as the leader, you are only delegating responsibilities? Where does the place of you serving come in if I'm only going to be delegating responsibilities?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm a familiar terrain. I wrote my thesis on servant leadership. A servant leader is not the man who carries water hose to quench fire. No. A servant leader prioritizes the interests and welfare of the people over and above that of the organization. That's who a servant leader is. A servant leader will come to that office and teach everybody how to fight fire, what to do in case of fire, and how you can protect yourself, ensure that you have all the equipment to give you, to protect you against fire, and will mobilize you to site, probably do demo for you over and over, do simulations for you over and over. But if there's fire anywhere, he will not enter that building with you, or else he doesn't know what he's doing. But if anybody should get injured, it doesn't matter how much the company or the organization needs to spend to bring nurse that person back to life, it will ensure that happens. So it's a bit different, yeah. I don't know, is that clarification okay?
Yes, sir. However, there's still
okay, yeah, I need to clarify whatever.
Yeah, so in there are certain situations, and I understand you're using the case of fire, but also as a computer engineer, there are times when you know, a group of people come together, being led by one person in particular to come up with a code or come up with a with a program, with a software. The leader of that group, whoever is going to be the head of that group, in most cases also has to have the understanding and the ability to code, to debug, and to execute whatever it is that you're being put together. Now, chances and incidences would have led to certain situations where everybody have tried to debug a particular error and nobody can do it, and it has to go all the way up to the leader, who may sometimes be able to debug it, or even liaise with some other people to help resolve the issue at hand, right? So in the case of a fire, which I'm trying to relate it to a fire, if everyone is putting in their resources and putting in everything that they have got from training, from experiences, and it doesn't seem to be working, at what point would the leader come in? Or is the leader not expected to come in at all and just continue bringing other resources and keep pouring in other resources, especially when I want to believe the leader should be aware of what how to resolve the issue. So yes, you have there's a space of training, there's a space of demoing and all of that stuff, but the real life experience or real world experience in most cases differs from training and test scenarios. So at what point would the leader come in, or is the leader just expected to continue delegating and appointing people? Because I'm of the opinion that, especially in a church setting, people would very quickly get tired and not want to participate in things when the leader is not doing anything. If, oh, you go do this, you go do this, you go do this, it kind of sends the wrong message than, if the leader steps in. So that's where I'm coming from, looking at it from where, the real life experiences are somewhat different from training and demo sessions.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Idumu. Two things, we've mixed up two things. One, I was trying to bring to our attention the issue of coordination, that there must be someone who steps back, looking at what everybody is doing to ensure everybody is going towards the predetermined destination, so that the organization will achieve its objective. That person cannot enter that crowd. No, it cannot. When in every organization is a pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid, what is needed are technical skills. Technical skills. The middle of the pyramid, what is needed are the supervisory skills. At the top of the pyramid, what is needed is the managerial skills. When a manager steps down to do technical skills, it's a waste of executive time and resources. For instance, I can be the customer service person in my organization. And you still pay me what I'm earning, what I earn per hour, maybe so, the differential may be so huge compared with somebody doing the same job now. But if there's any incremental value I'm bringing into that desk, it can't be so substantial that you need to pay that kind of money. But over and above that, everybody must move in one direction. And there must be somebody who ensures that that is done. And that is the man at the top. Those are the managers. I cited the instance of the firefighter because you are dealing with life and you don't have the time. Somebody must be out looking at assessing what is happening, calling for reinforcement, telling you to move from A to B, stop what you are doing or move to C. There must be somebody who is coordinating, or else everybody will be doing what he thinks is important, and at the end of the day, they may still lose the property. So coming to the issue of, maybe I guess you are a computer person who you work in teams and there are problems that can be solved by the team members, then you need to escalate to maybe second or third level. All those are still technical skills. All those are still technical skills. If you look at an organization, people come in with different skills. I can be an accountant, the finance man may come, the IT man may come, and will come into the organization at the same time. What the organization requires at that time is purely our technical skill. As we move up and we are promoted, we have some people under us. Because we've done it, we can supervise them. As we move up again, we become managers, then we are thinking strategically now. Where is this organization? Where are you in relation to your competition? Where are you meeting your budget? What do you need to do? What are the sources of issues you have? Those are the things you'll be thinking of, not technical skills. So if there's something that the technicians can't do, it's still not the problem of that manager. When he gets to his table, he's not going to try and figure how to debug. It can be somebody who is an accountant, who is now the managing director or the finance man. He's not going to look at how to debug anything. At best, he'll be thinking of, oh, how can I outsource this? Or how can I fix this problem? That would be what he'll be thinking. I don't know if that clarifies it for us.
Yes, sir, you did. You did, especially the part of coordinating that. Yes, sir, you did. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Okay, number 6.
Sir.
Okay,
sir.
sir.
Before you, sir, the technical skill at the bottom, managerial skill on top, there's the middle one.
Supervisory. Supervisory.
That's true.
Okay, proper utilization of human resources. Proper utilization of human resources. Well, I need to add not just human resources, all resources. Managers, what do? Managers manage, they manage resources, both human resources and financial resources, time, all kinds of resources that are at the disposal of the organization. That's what the managers do. So, okay, let me, sorry, before I leave the issue of coordination. Imagine if the pastor is the usher and he does to go and join the prayer department. As he's coming back, he stands with the people who are guiding the car, parking the car outside. As they're doing that, he moves to the final. Do you think it will be effective? No, he won't be effective. In fact, he should be sacked. That kind of a pastor should be sacked. He doesn't know his work. You know what the apostle said in, I think it's Acts chapter 5, when there was problem, the Hellenist widows were being discriminated against, Acts chapter 5, I think. So we will continually give ourselves to prayers and the word. They did not get involved in serving tables. Does it mean that serving tables is not dignified? No, far from it. But there must be somebody who is watching, who is not serving tables, but is watching. That just came to me. I said, I need to just put that one in. Okay, proper utilization of human resource. We can be wasting resources that we don't know. For instance, you hire me to be the front office person. I do it very well and you're happy. But the fact is you are paying more money, you could get the same service for less. So there's loss of value there. My background is in finance. There can be many leakages going on in an organization unless there are strategic sessions and you are looking at these figures. You will never know, especially in church. Especially in church, I believe every church quarterly should have strategic session where you look at these things. How are we utilizing our resources? If we remove this, what will happen? Why question every post? Why is this post there? Why is this one? If we remove this, what will happen? Are we going to collapse? That will help us to always redefine ourselves. There was something I said earlier on, planned obsolescence. You make yourself obsolete before competition does. That kind of strategic session helps every organization to get that accomplished. Okay, number 7, efficient functioning. Efficiency is to be the watchword of an enterprise. Well, like we know, there's a difference between effectiveness and efficient. I can kill a mosquito with double barrel. That gun is effective in killing that mosquito. But it's not efficient because I've used more than what is necessary to kill that mosquito. Organization will ensure that we are efficient because you will see what competition is doing, how some are lean and they are achieving multiples of the results that you are achieving. Organization helps us to ensure that we are functioning efficiently. So I go over the 7 points I've given. 1, organization helps us to define the role of an individual. What does this person, what does it do in an organization? Organization helps us to determine the commensurate authority that should be given to that person. The fact that you are the managing director does not mean that you can do everything in that organization. If you're not in finance department, you have no business knowing the password to the bank details. That's not your call. Okay, organization helps us. The 3rd one, fixation of our responsibility. Number 4, specialization, so that we can be more, we can do more in less period. Of course, coordination, we spend more time with coordination. 6, proper utilization of human resources. And 7, efficient functioning. All of these 7 points apply to every organization, especially church. And if it's not in our churches, then this is time to for us to see how we can ensure that that happens quickly in our organization. Do I have questions before we continue? Any questions?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, number 4, organization allows specialization.
Yes.
If the church is a new church and we are just coming up and we don't have people that are specialized in one thing or the other, can we utilize people that we have to do some things, even though they are not really specialized in the area, by maybe taking them through training or seminars or something like that, but they are not really specialized and we don't have anybody to do that for that period? Is it okay?
Okay. One thing you should do, I hope we'll be able to get there today, is planning. And part of planning is that you document. And once you document, is this person you want to bring into this role, does it fit this role? Does he have the temperament needed in this role? For instance, I was an usher for 3 years. And every month, we normally have a program where that will start by 6 and will end by 4. You would stand from 6 to that 4. You come to church, that's on a Saturday, Friday through Saturday. On Sunday, you have 2 services. You will stand from 7 to 2. So if there's somebody who has back problem, it will not be advisable to put that person in such a department. I was in prayer department for about 5 years. In prayer department, there was nights we were having prayers every Friday, every Saturday, and first service of Sunday. We'll start by 9 on Friday, close by 5, repeat the same thing on Saturday, then 7 to 9. If not many people can do that. So just having people is not enough. Depending on what you want to achieve though, it's not, but there's nobody who is useless. So you just to find what can this person do and plug him into what in that area. If there's an area that is vacant and the people who you have can't do those duties, well, my advice would be pray that God should send a laborer to the vineyard. That's what I would say. All right. Whether we like it or not, we can't go to organizational culture tonight because that's very broad. In organizational culture, it is the leadership of every organization who determines the culture of that organization. What the leadership allows, punishes, or rewards will determine the culture of that organization. So when you have somebody who is not fit, it's either he runs the organization down or he's taking you back from your stated objective. And if that happens, that's not a plus for you. For instance, you have somebody in your front desk is temperamental. It will drive away your customers. So are you functioning well? If you have somebody who is driving away people right away from front desk, that would be my advice. Or does anybody have any other suggestion?
Sir, from my understanding, what Mama was asking, if she doesn't have the person, but somebody new comes with the ability to do it, if she can use the person. That's the understanding I get she was asking. Is that so, Mama?
What I'm asking is if the church is new, the church is just coming up, and there are no somebody with specialties. If we can use whoever is available until we get somebody that specializes in some areas.
Well, what I can say to that is, this person trainable? Can you rush kind of training for this person? Does he understand what is expected of him or her? And will it be evaluated over time to show that he understands that role properly? If the answers are in affirmative, maybe. But the fact that somebody is available doesn't mean that we should plug him. If there's an aircraft somewhere and there are people waiting, can we just say because there are people, then one of them should just jump in and we all going? No. If there's a car and 3 of us, we can't drive, can we say, okay, since there are 3 of us, let somebody just go by the wheels? And no, it won't happen. So there are required skills for various roles. And if it has been documented, what is required is stated, is this person, even if it's not showing that sign or it doesn't have the required skill sets, is it trainable? If it's trainable, yes. All the leader needs to do is to devote a time and do crash programming, crash training, and ensure that the person can handle the duties required in that place. But it would be a grave error to say that since we don't have anybody, and this is the only one available, then let's just use him. It doesn't work like that in corporate setting, and I don't think it should work like that in church. But that doesn't mean...
Yes, I said that earlier, sir. I said if we can take some people through some trainings, some seminars to bring them up. Because like an organization, say outside organization, you want to have specialized people to be put in a post. But in our church, people are coming in and they don't come in by what they specialize in. And we need people like, maybe we need people in the children teacher, we need people to be the drum, we need choir, we need somebody like that. So, and we need other people to do other things, ushers and something. So it's not that they are coming with their certificates or something. It's a new church, we are just coming in. So I believe we can push them through some training, some seminars that we expose them to these roles. And just as you have said, if they are trainable, then we'll be able to absorb them. So we are not saying that they should come in with their specialties, because it's a church. It's not like an organization that I want to appoint you as an accountant and then you must have your certificate and all of that. That's the point that I'm saying, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. I think we're in agreement concerning that if the person is trainable, he should come in and go through the training so that he will not do damage to the organization before we realize, that something is actually wrong. Okay. Any other question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for the teaching. Yeah, I just want to let me apologize the other time I couldn't talk back. I didn't know I was using a device that will require a microphone. So I had to disconnect now to talk. Now I want to
No
ask a
problem.
question. Is there any effect or impact if somebody at the top of the pyramid did not go through the bottom and move to the supervisory position before he moved to the managerial position, and compare with somebody who grew from the pyramid to become a supervisor and become a manager in the same organization. So if somebody is just recruited from outside to come and become a manager, will there be any impact on that organization, whether positive or negative, or will there be any organizational culture clash if it just comes from another setting to be at that top, beginning to coordinate things in that organization? Maybe
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, I understand. I understand your question that if an external person should be brought in, is there a plus or a minus for existing organization, and how would that impact that organization?
Exactly.
Okay. The answer to that is it depends. If the current person is tired, is not moving forward, a new hand is required. If that new hand is coming from outside, sometimes it may bring new insights, new drive, how it is done, where it's coming from, which may be what the organization needs. Sometimes the attempt to change the culture of the new place may further sink the organization. So it depends. Then who is it dealing with? Are you dealing with people who are not ready to cooperate with you? Are you dealing with people who are impervious to correction? Okay. Or we are not used to this and we are not ready to change? If he's dealing with that, he will spend a lot of time trying to bring innovations, changes, or that they are used to this person and they don't want to change. That might be a problem. Okay, but if he's dealing with people who welcome and they're ready to try new things, even if they are not sure, but is the boss and we're ready to give you all the support that you need, and all of that organization will succeed. So there's nothing that says that it can't happen and it will be successful. And there's nothing that says that it can't happen and to be a colossal failure. So it depends on the individuals involved, the situation, and the people is supposed to be leading.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. At this time, what would interest me so that I don't want us to just have information in our head and we're just writing an exam and that's it. I get a certificate and we file it up somewhere. Application and doing, how does this apply to where we function? Are there problems that you want to bring up so that we look at it from the organizational perspective and how, whether there's anything that you probably may be advised to do to write what is not going on well? Anybody? Does that mean that all our organizations are okay? Let me ask a question now, if nobody's asking me a question. One, do you have all your processes documented? Hello?
No,
all your processes. So if I come to your church today and I start working, and do I have something I can just read and I start working without you talking to me? Do I know what you stand for? Do I know what your organization stands for? Or better still, why are you doing what you are doing? Why? How do you know that you are making progress? By what parameters do you assess yourself? You know, God is an accountant. I hope you know that. He gives some people talents and was asking for rewards. So he had expectations and he measured them 30-fold, 60-fold, 100-fold. And he's our father, so we can't do less. So do we go to church? We just come together and just an organization. We are not moving towards anything. We are not achieving anything. We are not reviewing anything. We are not evaluating anything. We are not reshuffling. There's no strategic session. That is the organization. That is what's supposed to be happening in our churches. Because don't forget what I said earlier. Every organization is run with the same principle, irrespective of your objective. Whether you are profit making or you are not for profit, whether you are religious or you are corporate, it's the same. You have to. Are you communicating? If I take 2-3 people from your congregation and I sit them down and I ask, what is this church about? What do you stand for? What's your target audience? Would they be able to tell me all the 3 of them and it should be the same thing? If not, there's something wrong with your communication system. They don't know what you are doing. Even if you know what you are doing, your people don't know what you are doing. How can they follow you if they don't know what you are doing? So you have to hone your communication system. If you don't know who your target audience, how do you devise what I call them baits to catch them? Even right from your location, why are you situated where you are? Is it because that's where there is space? Did you do any survey, demographic studies, data analytics to know if you are well situated? This is why church can make progress and not. Do you know everybody in your church? Do you have data? What percentage of your church is under 15? Who in another 5 years will become adults? So what's your program by the time in that 5 years when they become adults? What's your leadership methodology? How do you recruit people into the leadership cadre? Are they documented? If you are to go on 2 years sabbatical, would the church close down? Or everybody knows what to do and they're doing their work? These are the issues we should discuss in this kind of forum, not just theoretical classroom. At least that's my interest. If we cannot be, whatever information we get or knowledge we get today, if it does not make impact on what we do tomorrow morning, then it's a waste of everybody's time. Can I ask for feedback?
Very well, sir. Like when you gave your example, you were talking about yourself when you were in a member of the prayer group. Although you mentioned that it's not everybody that could do that because of the demand. Now, I just cast my mind back that I don't know when that was, when you are talking about, but some of us are in a setting, heading a religious body, and getting them across to do some functions as regular as possible, as needful as possible, is kind of very difficult because they have different, many of them will tell you they have engagement, maybe work, regular work. I mean, during the time that is required, you want them to fill in the gap for that particular thing. So I'm just wondering, I don't know, looking at, maybe it's everywhere now, there's been a very difficult thing to get people up to do certain things as a leader as much as you want them to do. For example, Saturday meeting, you call evangelism meeting, which is very important. Let's go out to meet people. You'll find very few people able to come around. Majority of them are actually, they're at work. On Sunday, you see almost some of your members, a certain percentage also at work. Some of them will be in church this Sunday. Some of them will miss the other Sunday just because of work. And as a leader, I think it's a bit difficult to fill in the gap with, I mean, of some of those needs that the organization require at that time. So I'm looking at this a very peculiar problem to me. I mean, where I am right now. And it's a challenge that to get people to do certain things at the time that I want it. I mean, the way I desire it to keep running, it's not usually coming up like that. And because of that, you know, there's this kind of gap that you don't want to do. So I look at it as a challenge. I don't know if you have any concrete advice to be able to get the most of the time, I mean, resources that we have at this particular time.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I have an idea of what you're saying. When I was an usher, there were nothing less than 3 or 4 managing directors of bands in the same group. In my training group, the vice president of Nigeria now was in that group and was already a professor. It is the training. If people just come and we put them in, just plug them in, we will get suboptimal results. It is the training that is needed first that creates that desire and the resilience that is needed in that position. That training creates the appetite and the desire to make sacrifice because you've signed on onto this job. During our time, our training was rigorous. Trust me. And it's the same. I live in Lagos and traffic has never been friendly, but you dare not come late. You can't even come late. It's a voluntary organization, but we're trained like paramilitary. So everybody was able to plan his time and all of that. You know, I asked the question, do you know everybody in your church? Do you have the demographics? And now it's not even the quantity that matters. By the time some people come up and they do these things with all of their hearts, it will inspire other people to pay the same price. And do have discipline. I remember during our training, the last person that would come in was our pastor. I can mention his name, Pastor Tony Rapo. When he closes that door, nobody will open that door until that meeting will be over. And the meetings, you are not there 3 times, your name is, that's part of the rules. So that you are in or you are out. Trust me, that kind of training, that kind of discipline creates resilience in people and desire to make sacrifice. And one thing I've seen, time expands to meet work. We were still going to work, we were coming to church, and we didn't drop any of the balls. And we still had our own families to look after. So what I would recommend, sir?
Yes, sir.
Training and discipline. Irrespective of who you are, one, write the rules. These are the rules. This is the training. This is the discipline. Even if it's the wife of the pastor, I mean, you break the rule. You break the rule. Rules are impersonal. They don't have tribal marks.
Right.
Yeah, that would be my advice, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Any other person?
Praise the Lord, sir.
Hallelujah.
I followed what you just said and the advice based on what Pastor Adeyemo was saying. But sometimes, personally, that's my opinion, although I have some experiences in the past in the group that I belong. There was a time, some people try to break the rule, and the leader tried to mix out some discipline, so to say, to some set of people that went against some kind of rules that were on ground. And that led to a kind of crisis that, made some of them withdraw from the group. And even if I'm not mistaken, one person exited the church. So, as you have rightly said that, it's a voluntary, for example, church is a voluntary, setting where people come, by themselves, and they can live by themselves. So sometimes as a person, I do have that kind of fear, in people that, okay, if I do this, what if they, what if it causes them to move out? Or, I like the kind of discipline you said that Pastor Tonerapu instilled. But it depends on the people, how they take it. I don't know. I don't know whether I'm asking a question or I'm just saying something that can help you to shed more or help us more, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I have an idea of what you're saying. But that fear, it shouldn't be there, sir. What do I mean? One, document these things. Document. After documentation, train.
Okay.
So we know upfront that if you are missing 3 consecutive times, you are out already.
Okay.
If you are late without any cogent reason, you can't even enter the venue of that thing again. So if you knew that upfront and you signed for it, so why should that be a problem if you broke the law? And there was something I said. I said, leadership of any place, whatever they will not sanction, whatever they will not applaud, it will not be done. And that is how you determine the culture of a place. If the leader will not sanction something, then people will take it that it's acceptable. If the leader will sanction something, then we know that it's not acceptable in this place. If you are afraid that they will go, trust me, sir. Except the Lord build the house, the labor and builder build it. They will not go. You have a disciplined organization, and it's better to have 10 people who are disciplined, who know where they are going, than to have 1,000 people who are flabby and they don't know where they are going. No. 10 people who are disciplined will conquer more territories, do more exploits than 1,000 people who are spoiled and they are neophytes, even at the age of 50, and they can't achieve anything. They are useless to themselves, and they are not worth anything in the hands of the Lord, and completely irrelevant in moving the frontiers of the kingdom.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, excuse me, sir. I think basically what really happened is the rule has to be incorporated from the onset, so that whoever is coming in, like the setting we have here in Atlanta, the rule, if you miss any meetings, and without any explanation or written whatsoever, you are not going to be a worker, or something like that. So the rule is there. So for you to break the rule without any written or any explanation, you don't want to be, in the setting anymore. So to me, the rule has to be there before, people coming in, into that organization. They have to pass through training, and it all tells about the rules. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I know of a pastor, you don't come late without tangible reasons. The wife came late 2 times, and for 6 months, she couldn't minister. So if that happens to Mommy Gio, then everybody will find that in this place, this is what obtains.
That's interesting.
Yes. That's the way it works, sir. But I asked some questions, nobody answered me. Do you have your objective written? Do your people know? Do you have the demographics? Are you well placed? How do you know you are making progress?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
Can I say something, sir? Not really on the questions you asked, but on the previous thing we were talking about discipline and all of that. I believe in discipline, and I know that discipline needs to be put in place if anybody is crossing the line. But like in the church setting, how do we reconcile discipline with love? Because some people will come out and say, love, that's why this is happening, why you are too harsh and all of that. How do we deal with that?
Okay, thank you so much, man. Just like one of our pastors said earlier, laws are impersonal. This law was not written because of you. It was there before you came, and you signed for it. So how is my applying it being wickedness to you? He who the God loves is the one that is chastises now. So if you're falling out of line, bringing you back is love. Not talking to you is hatred. So it's because of love. The person I mentioned is a ministry in Abuja, so it's real life. Is it because the man hated his wife? No. Just saying that in this church, this is the rule. It doesn't matter who you are. It applies to everybody. But if the problem comes when the leader will make an exemption for himself, make an exemption for his wife and his children, then that rule is broken down irretrievably because they are looking at you. They are watching you. you are the epistle that they are reading. Whatever you allow, that becomes the culture. Whatever you punish, nobody wants to do it. And if you are selective in your application of discipline, then you water down everything. So the best thing is to work on yourself. You must obey the rules first. The man who will say you must be there by 7, he's there by 7 himself. So he can't be strolling in by 7:25. Will he have the conscience to say, where are you coming from at 7:40? So that's the issue. Let it be written. Let there be training. So there's an agreement. And trust me, people will not go. People rush to sign on in academy, defense academy training as soldiers, and your parents will sign on that form. I hereby sign that if my son dies in the process, that's it. And people sign and they go to NDA in Nigeria. It's the same thing all over the world. So discipline, keeps people right side up, so to speak. But I want us to move from that. I want us to address other things I've mentioned, because those are the drivers, I call them, that makes you actually achieve. When under Tony Rapo, we had 10 years plan, 10 years. We have Usher's manual. We had only police. Those are the people guarding cars outside. They had their manual. They had their meetings. They had retreats. The prayer meeting of ushering department was as strong as those people in the prayer department. So it's possible. My point is possible. So I take the silence to mean that we don't have many of our objectives are not documented. We don't have manuals. Training hasn't happened. Organizational structure probably is not there. Then it will be difficult for your people to know where you're going and why they shouldn't do what they're doing. And there's something to enforce, or why they will see you as wicked when XYZ did this, you looked away, and now it's my turn. You are now coming hard on me. You don't like me. And I guess those are the things that we probably need to do to move our organization forward.
Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
I'm here at work at the hospital, and I just want to relate a situation that's similar to what you're saying and what Mama said. We have, thank God I'm alone in the office. We have supervisors here who, some of them are approachable. So as nurses, you might, want to say something and, there are issues going on, so you can talk with them. While there are some supervisors who are very harsh, they embarrass the nurses, and people tend to shun away from them. And, there's a lot of conflict. So when we're relating it to the church also as leaders, and you're talking about how we manage so that you don't seem as if you're harsh to this person and not harsh to that person, because the same supervisor who is harsh to one nurse and embarrasses the nurse because something goes wrong, she will have someone who she really likes or appreciates, and when that person does something even worse than the other person does, nothing comes out of it. And as you said, the whole system will break down. So everybody starts saying, she like this one and she don't like that one, and when that one do this. So we have to be balanced. We have to say, as Mama said, discipline in love. Look at the way how we discipline, because as you said, persons are watching us, and we don't want to, push away everyone from the institution. For example, if when they're doing performance evaluation, and the sister is known to turn away so many nurses, you don't want that. So we have to balance it, do the same thing that we would do. And we also do it in age. I remember when our general overseer came to Jamaica, He show so much love to the children. He treat them with so much respect. So it shouldn't be a respect to say, oh, because this person is 50 and this person is 20-year-old. We should have a balance in how we deal with conflict and how we relate to the people when there's issues going on. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for your contribution. I appreciate that. I take your point. Our God is love, and we should love. But in that love, we maintain discipline. And to help our organizations, we have to document, train people, communicate, so that everybody knows. So the day you say, this is it, everybody knows anyway. Even the man who has broken the rule knows. So it won't be a problem. But if it's not documented, it's not communicated, then you might be selective in application of that discipline. And there's nothing that brings down an organization more than partiality. Okay, maybe we take two more before.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for the teaching. I think the first thing the church needs to do is to write out the vision and mission statement, and then they know how to train people, what to document. I think that area of documentation and training is what is majorly lacking. I think the vision and the mission has to be first.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. But there's something I want to add to it. The mission and vision, they are usually very large, very general, the way it's couched. And most likely you take from the headquarters mission and vision. I understand that, but you have to domesticate it to your own environment. Yes, we want to proclaim Jubilee to everybody. What does that mean? What does proclaiming Jubilee mean to me in Najegule in Lagos, or to the man in Brooklyn in New York, or to the man in Atlanta? What exactly? So we have to domesticate that and make it relevant to that man without still changing the mission and the vision of that organization. And it has to happen. But the feel I get now is that we haven't done that. We should. If that's the only thing we are taking away from tonight's interaction, I'll be glad that, one, we've determined what we stand for in our environment or in our community. Two, we've documented the processes, all the processes in every department. Three, there is training so that everybody knows. And training comes with reward and consequences. And reward is, there will be periodic evaluation, and people are sanctioned, people are promoted, people are rewarded. That it is what it is. It is, don't forget what I said, it is an organization. If it does not run on organizational principles, then there will be a backlash. It doesn't matter that it's a church. It is still an organization. Two more before we go.
Yes, sir. I've seen in some churches where the documentation of like tithes, especially. And I've seen it in like smaller churches where the envelope is personalized. So your name is written on the envelope, and that envelope is given to you every Sunday. And you put your tithes in it, you put your offering in another envelope, and it is documented in our book. And whenever they keep in members meeting, if you so desire, you can get to know how much tithes you have given for the year because it's documented. What is the proper protocol for that?
Mhm. Okay. This is my opinion. One, I don't know whether you've read the book, Witchcraft in the Church.
Oh.
Sometimes there is control in church that is beyond what is healthy. Some pastors want to know how much you are earning.
Mm-hmm.
Others want to know, by the time you want to start building, who will I ask for XYZ? Or other pastors, who should I visit a week before Easter or Christmas, so that all kind of stuff. So I know people who do that just to know how much their people are earning. But I also know a church who does that to know the effective members in their church. So when you have problem and you come to church, that's the first record they will check. Do you pay your tithe here? Yes. It doesn't matter what that problem is. That church will solve it for you. But you don't pay your tithe there, they can give you something and ask you that, may the Lord be with you as you go with this one. Okay, so what is the motive for doing that? Others could do that to put pressure on people to pay their tithes. But I have a problem with that. The Bible says, if you are willing and you are obedient, then some consequences will follow. You eat the good of the land. It is possible to be obedient, but you are not willing. So when you force people to do what they don't want to do, they are forbade. Although they've not obeyed willingly. I'm not sure that equation is complete. So that would be my position. Why do you want to do that? Or why are you doing that? Are you doing that to increase your tithe and offering? Are you doing that to know the people who are paying? Are you doing that so that you know when you want to raise, you know where to go? Or are you doing that so that you can know the effective members that you have? So there are organizations, there are some churches who are, sir, you've not paid your tithe for 3 months. They will come and tell you that. Yeah. So, but is that what we want to do? That's outside of my call.
Okay, sir.
But will I do it? I certainly will not do it. But I'm not prescribing what I would do for what anybody should do. That's just personal.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man. Who is giving us the last question before we go? Fumi Lori, Pastor.
Sir, please can you give us the name of the author of the Witchcraft in the Church?
Oh, I will tell Pastor Deborah. She will probably give it to you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I can't remember. Yes, ma'am. Pastor
Reverend
Fumi Lori.
Akin John.
Oh, okay. Go on, sir. Pastor Fumi Lori. Oh, okay. I just want somebody to give us the last one before we go tonight. Okay, nobody. Let me recap so that we can take the time. One, every organization run on the same principle. Two, define your objective. That will help you with your structure. And please document. As you document, train. When you train your people, they know where you're going. Everybody must know. There's no soldier who doesn't know the instruction on what to do. You train them before you can deploy them. And as a person, you must discipline yourself because you are the epistle read by all your people. Everything you are doing, they are watching. So if you are slacking, you lack the moral right to ask them to do what you are not doing. The new people who are coming in, if they are good, they have skills and fine, they can be plugged in. If they are not, are they trainable? If the question is still no, then watch them before you put them in position or place of authority and to do things for you in church. They can actually be good, but they are coming with a different culture. They must understand the way you do things before they can function effectively within your organization. Because one person who is an outlier can be a problem to you. When a cell is cancerous in the body, you don't pamper it. You chop it away. You just cut it. The same way, if you introduce a virus into the body, you are killing that body. So don't say it's just one person. Something did not need two Delilahs. One was more than enough. Okay. That's where I'll be rounding up tonight. The place, go document, go train your people, discipline yourself, communicate, put the structure there, then enforce the discipline on yourself and on everybody. Then we'll have an organization that is unbeatable. We have people who are actually soldiers for the Lord, who are ready to expand the frontiers of the kingdom of God. People who are no longer babies. People who can stand. People who are dependable and who are reliable. People that you can send instructions and you don't have to verify, you know that it is done. You will build people with kindred spirits. People you will respect and they will respect you. That is my understanding, and that is all we're taking away from tonight. Thank you very much. Father, we just want to thank you tonight. We give you praise and adoration. We worship you because you are good and you are God. Thank you for that which you've caused us tonight to share. Thank you for your soldiers you sent out there. Lord, thank you for equipping them. Thank you for great grace. Thank you for heavens that are opened. Thank you because you want to take them to a new dimension, even of encounters with you. Thank you, oh God, for you want to showcase them. That's why we are having all this. Thank you for the harvests that are coming in. Thank you, oh God, for you are preparing a good place for them. Thank you, oh God, even for the things that I have not seen, that ear I haven't heard. Thank you, oh God, even as they begin to unfold even unto us. Lord, we thank you for this awesome privilege. We do not take it for granted, oh God. Lord, we know that everything we've heard tonight, let them not stand against us in judgment. Lord, we ask for the breathing of the Holy Spirit upon our spirit man, that empower us in our inner man by your spirit, oh God, to go out there to manifest the multidimensional way of you impacting the people to the intent that your name will be glorified and your kingdom will be expanded upon the hearts of the people and every phase of influence, that this nation and indeed the world, water will cover, as the water covered the sea, your glory will cover this world, and the kingdom, this kingdom will become the kingdom of our dear God. Thank you, Jehovah.
Thank you.
Blessed be thy name, O God.
Hallelujah.
In Jesus' awesome name we have prayed. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Remi
Thank you,
Olatunbode.
sir.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, sir. God bless you, sir.
God bless you. Thank you for your time, sir. We appreciate your time and the classes. The Lord will strengthen you and the time you have, put into the classes. Thank you.
Please don't forget the slide you want to send to us.
Okay.
The slide
Yes.
of the teaching. Thank you,
I'll
sir.
do
God
that.
bless you.
God bless
Thank
you,
you, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir. Good night,
Thank you, sir.
everybody. Yeah. All right, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Shalom.
Good night, sir.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.